Have you ever wondered how your life would be without the European Union?
How does the EU conditionate your freedom of movement within the European Union?
Everyone talks about climate change. Is that a challenge that can be tackled without the European Union?
So I'm Marco Gerbaudo.
My name is Maria Antonia Panasci.
Gabriella Perotto, and I teach
EU law, migration law
at Bocconi University.
Citizenship, state and passport are strictly linked concepts, but not for the European Union. Quite a paradox. It is detached from the idea of state, but is dependent on the nation state. It does not replace national citizenship, but it is additional to it.
If you're like me, I'm an EU citizen and a relatively young researcher, you can travel wherever you want.
As you know, there isn't a European superstate, and although there is no single European passport, all national passports issued by member states look basically the same. It is a very fascinating concept which respects single national identities while uniting them in a European community. The possibility you have to travel, live, work, study in another member state without facing discrimination.
This seems obvious to us, but it did change with time, and this is thanks to the European Union.
You are never considered a foreigner because you are a European citizen. You should be granted the same rights as the nationals of that state.
This is valid for the first 3 months of travel, and after you can stay in another member state which is not yours if you have a job or enough resources to become a burden for the member state. If instead we talk about people not born in the European Union, the situation is a bit trickier. We usually distinguish between two situations. The first one is legal migration. The other area instead is asylum, and we talk about legal migration when it comes to migration movements due to work, family reunification, research or study. In these cases, member states retain a great deal of discretion, especially when it comes to determining the number of people that can enter their territory. The European Union has intervened in different ways, mostly by harmonizing minimum rules when it comes when and how to issue residence permits. And the first thing to say is that asylum is no less legal than any other means of migration. The member states failed to find a common approach on how to deal with the issue, especially after 2015, when there was a sudden inflow of people arriving mostly from Syria. Securitization, it means that everything related to asylum becomes a very security-related topic. So inflows, they are labeled migration crisis, and migrants become threats. And this is coupled with these externalization practices through which national governments started to outsource migration management to countries that are often at the border with the European Union and hoping to stop people from entering the European Union.
The EU will have a fundamental role to play in this context as a global actor. The EU action will try to make a better future for us and also to make it more sustainable and more safe.
Sharing a single market, large-scale infrastructures, a single currency, the euro. These instruments allow the EU to address challenges that are too big for member states.
Climate change and security issues are challenges that are quite interconnected.
Thanks to coordinated fiscal policies, a centralized monetary policy, the EU is more effective.
Fighting climate change requires collective actions on a global scale
that transcends borders and demands a unified response at EU level.
We are talking about an ambitious objective, means making the European Union the first continent climate neutral. It means to achieve zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050 and also an intermediate target by 2030, reducing by 55%. All these strategies called Green Deal, and we have a number of instruments that have already been adopted by the institutions, but of course there's still a lot to do.
After years of failed reforms, the von der Leyen Commission finally decided to adopt a realpolitik approach and adopted the new Pact on Migration and Asylum. It's a global reform of the EU migration policies. What does it do? It tackles migration mostly along the lines set by member states, mostly through detention at the border and confinement of people that try to reach the European Union. It does introduce some sort of solidarity between member states, but its implementation is still not foreseen, so we have to see how it's going to see the light of reality.
The first thing we think about is defense. Of course, this is also an area where the European Union is adopting new instruments, in particular in order to reduce fragmentation, to try to increase interoperability. But security means also something else in a broader meaning, supply security, for example. We saw that with the energy crisis, and it will become fundamental for the green transition, because in order to achieve this green transition, we also need to have adequate materials to do so, and also key technologies.
You are not just a citizen of your country, but a participant in a larger European society.
How was it possible to adopt such a bold approach through political will and legal flexibility? How do we find political will? Well, in June we're going to have the European elections. It's important that when you want to vote, you check the agenda of the party you wish to vote for.
The European Parliament is the institution representing citizens, so it is very important to participate to this election, to express our vote and to decide who our representative will be.
You have rights, but also responsibilities.
So you can influence the final outcome.
It will be very important what will be decided at the European level.
Have a say in your future. Go vote.